This week, Belcher discusses the strategies and struggles with wrapping up your article. Interesting enough, this can be the most difficult stage for writers. As the image in front of you suggests, many of us sometimes struggle with wrapping up paragraphs, sentences, pieces of writing, and even conversations in our day-to-day life. Belcher reminds us this week to be cognizant of this anxiety that we might feel when completing our writing piece. Belcher suggests by week 11 you should start finalizing your article by wrapping up revisions. Make sure to start the week by scheduling when you will write and track down time you actually spend writing. Day 1, Belcher suggests documenting your time. Day 2, you should finalize your literature review and bibliography. By day 3, you should finalize your introduction. And by day 4, you should finalize your evidence and structure. Belcher this week discusses the perils of perfection, warning us not to be afraid of finishing our work and not to fear criticism from the outside world. No writer is perfect, suggests Belcher. Even famous writers such as Chomsky and Scarry have been attacked. As Edwin Bliss once said, the pursuit of excellence is gratifying and healthy, while the pursuit of perfection is frustrating, neurotic, and a terrible waste of time. Belcher goes on to share a story of a young aspiring artist working with his apprentice during the Renaissance. The master painter suggests to his young apprentice that the piece of work is in fact too well done and lacked in perfection. The master painter goes on to suggest that the portrait painting of a prince might need some type of imperfection to inspire the prince. The master painter explains to his apprentice that he might want to consider painting one arm green. Belcher states that the moral of the story is that there are diminishing returns to perfecting your work. Peer editors, much like the prince, need something to criticize. So it's up to you as the writer to consider these criticisms and prioritize them in your editing process. Belcher suggests that perhaps your article's imperfections will function to draw critical fire. Faulkner, as cited in Belcher, discusses the sadness a writer can experience when finishing their work. It's normal for writers to slow down the process to prevent closure. Writers often begin to realize that there's a huge gap between what they imagined their article would be and the finished product. Faulkner and Belcher both suggest we must become comfortable with sending out our imperfection into the world. Faulkner suggests that this week should be devoted to macro revisions. If this takes longer than 1 week, that's okay according to Belcher, especially if you're waiting on feedback from a colleague. It's important not to lose sight of the big picture. Ensure your macro revisions are necessary and connect to your thesis statement. Belcher suggests that you review the instruction in week 5 on related literature reviews and reread your article with an eye for wrapping up your literature review and other citations on day 2. Is your bibliography clean, and have you cited what you need to cite? By day 3, you should finalize your introduction. Belcher suggests reviewing the instructions in week 8 on openings and reread your article with an eye for completing your introduction. On day 4, you should finalize your evidence and structure. Belcher suggests focusing on improvement, not overhauling. Keep in mind word limits. If you are roughly 100 words over the maximum, Belcher suggests to not agonize over it. Don't sweat the small stuff. You've worked hard. Most editors don't expect you to hit the mark exactly. Belcher suggests putting aside at least 3 to 4 hours to finalize your evidence and structure. By day 5, you should be finalizing your conclusion. Belcher suggests reviewing the instructions in week 8 on conclusions and reread your article with an eye for completing your conclusion. Belcher suggests that the best conclusions are short and clear ones. Be specific and avoid ambiguous terms and paragraphs. Belcher offers a graphic organizer on page 270 to help you plot your allotment of time for this week. Belcher reminds the reader that the primary goal of this workbook has been to aid in the revising of an article and then sending it to the editor. The workbook is designed to avoid procrastination by not writing and perfection by endless revising. On day 1, Belcher suggests writing a cover letter that uses letterhead, names the editor, addresses a letter to a specific person, and provides the title of your article. Notes if the article was requested. If the article was solicited in any way, thank the editor for requesting that you submitted and remind the editor of where the request was made. Include the abstract. Describe the article's contents. State the significance of the field. Describe the appeal of your article. If possible, declare why you think the particular journal's subscribers might be interested in reading the article. Mention the journal. State your reason for wanting your article. Other things that Belcher suggests: state that you are the sole author, own the copyright, that it has not been published before in any form, that the article is not currently under submission at any other journal, give the word count, mention any corporate funding sources for your project, also include your full contact information and whether you are reproducing any type of copyright material in your article. Rarely you see the following, but you should take them into consideration if this happens to be relevant to you. State that all human subjects gave informed consent and that your human subjects review board approved your application, and that you do not have a conflict of interest regarding the content of data in the article. Note any rewards you received. Preparing illustrations. A frequent mistake that beginning authors make is assuming that an image that works on the web or in a newspaper can be used in print journal or a book. It simply can't. Plan in advance to obtain good versions of your images, since they may not be available for photographing when you want them. By day 3, you should be putting your article in the journal style. Some editors require that initial submissions appear in their journal style. The easiest way to do this is to follow the instructions on the journal's website or consult the style manual they use. 3 of the most common styles. By day 4, you should be preparing the final print or electronic version of your paper. Always follow the journal's instructions to the letter. Be especially sure to strip the article of anything that could aid the reviewers in identifying you, blank out your advisor's name, funding sources, or any previous publications. Your name should appear nowhere in the article, including citations. Belcher provides a list of what one should and should not do when preparing the electronic version, and what one should and should not do when preparing the print version of your paper. These lists cover topics such as the mechanics of your paper, references, spelling, and technical suggestions. A comprehensive list can be found on pages 281 and 282 in the Belcher text. On day 5, Belcher suggests that you submit your electronic document online, or seal that envelope, walk to the nearest post office, and drop it in the mailbox. Then it's time to celebrate. Belcher says you've just accomplished something that many people dream of and never accomplish. You've joined those brave souls who have had the courage to send their writing to an actual publisher. Well done.